I think we'll go ahead and start, AJ, will we?
I think so. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join this webinar around SORAMate. My name is AJ Moda. I am the team lead for Andra Technologies here in the UK, working on a number of our projects in the UK and Europe. And I'm joined by Julie from AV Train. Julie?
Hi, everybody. Julie here from AvTrain. I think I know quite a few of you who are online at this stage. Our mission at AvTrain is to encourage prolific drone operations and keep the skies safe through the highest standards of training and certification. So we've always lived by the 3Ds. So if it's dull, if it's dirty, or if it's dangerous, then a drone should be doing it. We have recently we announced our partnership with Andra Technologies back on the 23rd of April, and we did that at the Royal Aeronautical Society in the UK, which was very appropriate because that was SORA Day. So it was to do with, as a lot of you will know, we've had a SORA within Europe for the last just over 5 years. So we're familiar with both the pain and the relief that SORA brings to operators, having a structured, methodical approach to SORA. So one of the pain points, though, that has been very apparent is that this needs to be digitized. We need to have the capacity for digital applications, and credit to the UK Civil Aviation Authority, they recognize the same thing and they developed the DISCO platform. And we decided that at that point in time, we were going to partner with Andra Technologies. They had built and developed SORAMate. We saw this as a really valuable tool. And given that the UK CAA in this region were the first to adopt SORA 2.5, we felt that the appropriate place to launch our SORAMate joint venture was within the UK. So that's just a little bit about AvTrain and about the partnership between AvTrain and Andra to, as I say, it's powered by Andra, delivered by AvTrain. AJ, do you want me to go on and talk a little bit about SORA 2.5 and where it's come from? And
Yes, please, go ahead.
yeah, so for those of you, I mean, a lot of you who are online, you may either be considering applying for a SORA application, or you may already have an operational safety case, an OSC, that you're looking to convert over to a SORA risk assessment. And really, this has had, this change in regulation does have an impact on operators. Everybody is aware of that. So the whole idea of digitizing these processes is to try and simplify that as much as possible. The SORAMate platform brings you in really on a step-by-step process with template text in some locations. Other locations, it will give you prompts as to what kind of information you should be adding. But really, this is to try and simplify as much as possible and make it as easy as possible for operators to also play around prior to getting onto the DISCO platform and submitting their applications, that they can look at, different mitigations that they may consider, whether it's for air risk or for ground risk, whether M1A, M1B, M1C, which are the appropriate mitigations that they should be applying. So it allows you to manipulate the mitigations to suit the type of operations that you have, to ensure that you reach the appropriate SAIL level for the evidence and for the compliance methodology that you're going to be able to present to the CAA. As I said, the 23rd of April was UK SORA Day. Since that, you're required now to submit your applications based on SORA 2.5. The SORAMate platform is available to you now. You can sign up. We're there to help you along the way. We're there for any questions you have. We love getting feedback from people who are using the platform as well. So please feel free at any point in time to reach out to us. And part of the packages when you sign up, AJ will talk you through some of the packages, but part of the packages when you sign up is a consultation with ourselves here at AvTrain. So we can either, if you want to sign up and go through and work through the platform and then come to us for your consultation, you're welcome to do that. Or if you want to sign up and go through a demo with us, we can facilitate that as well. So back over to you then, AJ.
Thanks, Julie. And thanks for that introduction. I think just to add a little bit more to SORAMate. SORAMate is something that Andra developed as part of a partnership for some work we did in Australia, who are also compliant with SORA, and they've started with 2.0, moving on to 2.5. One of the things that was quite key to the whole SORA methodology is that it's not just a standard or a specification, if you can call it that, but it's very, the way it's set up is it's very it's a very good way of making all of the activities digital, because otherwise you're in a manual exercise and it can be quite heavy going. So what we'll do this afternoon is I'll walk you through some of the background to Sora, how to get onboarded, where you can find information about Sora. And then the plan is that we'll walk you through and give you a flavor of the software itself. So without wasting any more time, you can just change the slide. So Sora Access. We have a landing page that's been created, and you will be able to, when you go to that soramate.co website, you'll be able to see what is available, what services available, how to get support, and how to sign up for a demo. There is a bit more information around the capability itself, and there is some introductory videos there, and then there's an element around how to get expert support from ourselves, which basically goes through to AV Train, and Julie will be available to help out, Julie and her team. So if I can just switch over to the website itself, give me a second. There we go. So this is the Sora.co website. It's been live for a while now because it supports the Australian audience as well, Australia and New Zealand. And what you have is a typical web page that walks you through what SORAMate is about. There's an introductory video from our partners in Australia. And we will be adding some new features here where you'll probably see Julie's face as well, talking about Sora. It guides you through what features are available on Sora and the tools and the capabilities. And then there are some links around the methodology itself. It talks about why you would need to use SORAMate, which is some of the points that Julia was making around not just streamlining the process, but actually making it a little bit more efficient through automation and through use of tools and services that we'll show you in a few minutes on SORAMate itself. You can book a tour with Julie and get a demo of the system itself. And there are some price and plans available here as well. So all of this is public, you can see it. And there are some additional services that we can offer you as well. Julie, do you want to add anything on that one?
Yeah, sure. So just maybe to talk through some of the add-on services. You can view all the add-on services there on the website, and all of the add-on services, the SORAMate is the digital platform for developing your SORA risk assessment. And you'll see in more detail how we go about doing that once we get into the actual platform itself. But we do also provide, through AvTrain, we provide all these ancillary services that are available for you as an operator or as a remote pilot to reach out to us. So the first one is we can help you develop an operations manual. We can develop processes and procedures based around, depending on the type of drone that you're operating, or whether you're operating VLOS or BVLOS, we can do customized BVLOS procedures for you. We can also help you with KML file development. There is a really helpful tool within SORAMate that you can play around with, but we can also help you with those KML files. Particularly if you're looking at, an operation maybe where you've got a very high population density abutting a very low population density, and you want to try and manipulate your flight geography to make sure that your contingency volume, your ground risk buffer are outside of that high density areas. So we can help you with those customized KML development. We can do a review of your SORA. So if you feel that, let's say you go through the SORAMate and you're finding that you're at a SAIL 3 operation, but you really feel you should be a SAIL 2 operation, we can help you with that. But also we can maybe help you along with some of the mitigations as to what mitigations you may be able to apply that you may not have realized that you were able to apply. So we can do a full SORA review for you prior to submitting your application to the UK CAA. We can also do stakeholder engagement. So let's say you want to operate at a particular location. It may be that you need to outreach to an airfield, or that you need to deal with a local council, or you need to, or you're not sure who it is that you should be engaging with at a local basis. And we can help you with all of that. We've done multiple SORA applications all across Europe, and we've done very significant stakeholder engagement, particularly through European projects such as Digital Sky Demonstrators and various others. So that stakeholder engagement piece is very important depending on the size and scale of your operation. And we can do custom API integration as well. So if you have your own systems and if you have your own software, and anything else, we can look at how do we go about. We're not going to promise the world here, but for sure we can look at what is the APIs that are available, how can we tap into your system, how can you tap into ours. We'll also do things like, we've got quite a few templates, so things like a template for an emergency response plan. We also do training around emergency response, around train the trainer. Also do in-house training for SORA and SORA risk assessments for large and small organizations. We recently did some training there with NATS. And we also do critical personnel. So if you've an accountable manager, or if you've got people within your organization, as an example, we do responsible persons within the Irish Coast Guard. We do training for them. So if you've got responsible people within the organization who are responsible for authorizing a flight, what is it they're authorizing? What responsibilities are they taking upon themselves? And then we also provide consulting services on an individual basis, on a one-on-one basis, for anything else or any other information you may want for us. So they're the kind of ancillary services that we add, as well as the digital platform for developing your SORA. These are all the other areas where you may want some assistance, and depending on the complexity of your operation, and we're more than happy to help. Back over to you, AJ.
Thank you, Julie. Can I just double check one thing? Can you see the slide or the website?
At the moment, the website.
The website. Okay, that's fine. Sorry.
Sorry, that's what I can see. I just want to make sure everybody else can see that as well. But yes,
Yeah, no,
I can see the website at the moment still, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Excellent. So one of the reasons that I'm putting up the website, and you might wonder, can I just sign up and access the software directly? At the moment, we've kept a slightly simpler workflow. When you go in and register, basically what we will do is we will come back to you and have a quick chat before you get access to the software. And so if you have signed up or you're planning to sign up and you don't get an immediate response, it should be a couple of hours. It's not a day or 24 hours or 48 hours. It should be a couple of hours. You'll get a response with a welcome message, and you will be able to access elements of the software. But if you don't hear anything, please do come back to us. It should be pretty quick. Now, just a quick reminder, once you've signed up and everything, there is a login for the software up here that you can get access to. All right, I'm going to jump over to the software and give you a walkthrough. Julie, can you confirm that you can see it?
Yes, yeah.
So this is the landing page for the software itself. Once you've registered and you've received your welcome details, you should be able to log on. It's quite standard process, logging on. I think we're all used to it. Just need an internet connection. All right, and you'll come onto this first page. So I'll just give you an overview of the interface itself, just so you understand what's going on. At the moment, the software supports SORA in Australia, New Zealand, and the UK, and there are some changes that we're undergoing at the moment. But what you will see is your profile details over there. There is a welcome video. If you click on it, it will guide you through what the SORAMate process looks like. And so it'll be we advise anybody who's logging on for the first time to go through the video. There will be an additional video that will be coming online onto this platform with specific detail around UK SORA. So please, and it gives you a reminder to rewatch it again. On the left-hand side, I just open that. What you have is a dashboard. At the moment, you're seeing an application statistic. Don't worry about this. This is not where we are in the UK SORA. Anything that you develop from a SORA assessment perspective will be under saved SORAs. So if I was to click on that, as you go through the process of developing your SORA assessments, you will see a high-level view of your assessment at this stage. And because UK SORA is a phased approach, you can go with drafts. You will see when you get to phase 1, you will see your phase 1 assessments at this stage, and then your full assessments under the saved under the saved assessments tab.
If I may, AJ, just on that, on the saved SORA as well. When you go into the saved SORA, if you go into phase 1, you can still edit your phase 1 document. So after you've completed phase 1 and you've saved your document, you can still go back in, and over on the right-hand side where the actions tab is, you can go into that, you can edit it, you can save and save it again. And the same then following the saved assessments once you've gone through phase 2 as well.
Yeah, thank you, Julie, for the reminder. So as you can see here, you can see some highlights on the assessment you've done. You see a GRC value, you see an ARC value, you see sail rating, date created, and update. So um, the advantage of having this software tool is that everything that you do in here as you create assessments, they're all tracked and they're logged and they're all recorded. So you can never lose any data in here. Obviously, you can duplicate and edit as you go along. There's an extra tool here that you can see, which is your ground risk buffer and CV calculations. Those of you who understand these things will understand what those acronyms stand for. Sometimes I have to look them up. But essentially, this is a tool that allows you to calculate your ground risk buffers. But more importantly, from the SORA perspective and the SORAMate tool, you can create a number of KMLs for the kinds of operations you want to create and save them. You will see this mapping capability throughout the software, and I'll just give you a high-level view about it. So to your right, you have the ability to create different types of zones that you want to create. So this will allow you to create a line trajectory, a volume, or a standard rectangle. You can see that there's a marker where you can place in case you want to put a specific location that you're interested in. Obviously, you've got the zoom functions over on the bottom right. On the bottom left, we've got two layers. So one is a mapping layer that allows you to change the type of view you're looking at, just in case you have a preference for something. And underneath that is your flight support layers. And in your flight support layers, what you find is a number of data types that you will find that you need in order to create a SORA assessment. So population densities are really important, and you'll see that there's a preloaded data set in the flight support. You'll see all your airspace types, and you'll see a number of other geospatial data types. Don't worry if you don't see all of these data types in the platform, because some of them are not applicable in the UK. There, as we go forward, we are loading different types of data into the SORA tool so that you'll be able to access all of that information. Julie, did you want to add anything here?
Sure. So just in this, you can create as many KML files as you want here. So you can use the drawing tools on the right-hand side to draw out your flight geography. Once you've selected a drone, once you've selected the operational altitude and the type of drone, we have built-in drones here where we've got and where the metrics are already automatically preloaded for you, or you can create your own custom drone. So you can develop as many KML files as you like using this tool. You can either then import them into your new SORA, or within the new SORA, this tool is also available to you directly in the new SORA. So when you go to create a new SORA, this will be there. And what it does is that when you use this tool as the ground risk buffer and the contingency volume, when you draw your flight geography based on the drone that you're flying, the height that you're operating at, the max characteristic dimensions, your max operational speed, when you've inputted these metrics, it automatically defines your ground risk buffer and your contingency volume, so you don't have to. Now, and this is where the tool becomes so useful, because you can shrink your flight geography as you require in order to keep your ground risk buffer and your contingency volume within a certain area that you want to carry out your flight operations. On the flight layering, it's important as well. When you've drawn your contingency volume, when you've drawn your flight geography and you have your contingency volume and your ground risk buffer available to you, you can then look at your airspace layers. So you can see, okay, am I in Class C airspace? Am I in Class G airspace? Class D, whatever it might be. You can also put in your population density, and your population density will be calculated for you based on the grid map that's there. And you can click into any individual grid and you can see exactly the population density within that grid. So again, you can change your flight geography based if you've got particular high volume population density in particular areas. You can adjust your flight geography here and make sure then that you're staying outside of those areas. So it's a really handy tool to, you may have some flexibility in what your flight geography is, so you can use this tool to your benefit to start drawing. And then you can either, as I say, you can save it here and you can then import it into your new SORA, or you can build this yourself in your new SORA if you know exactly where you want to fly, what your dimensions of your flight geography are. You can just build it straight away into your new SORA. So back over to you, AJ.
Thank you, Julie. I think the point there is that it's a tool that you can use to create those operational volumes that you want to fly in without having to go in and create an assessment. So it just makes your life easier. So we'll walk through and give you a flavor of the tool itself. an initial part of the SORA assessment. So when we first go in, obviously you've got to select the geography you want to operate in. So in this case, we're in the UK, that's where we want to fly. As we move forward, we will be adding more countries to this. So you go to the next stage. And what you see now is essentially an interface that guides you through the assessment. So you go at the top level, you can see what the steps are in your assessment. And this is aligned with the UK SORA requirement that's been published in the CAP, and I can never remember the CAP number itself.
722.
There you go. So you have the roadmap of what you need to do and what the next windows will be. As you scroll down, you can see this map layer is common to the different pages on the assessment. You will see your planned operational details that you need. Obviously, the purpose of the operation and what you're trying to do.
Sorry, AJ, if you just slow down a second, because just scroll back up again. I just wanted to mention a couple of things there, just so we don't keep repeating over it. So when you draw on the right-hand side, if you want to draw, do you want to maybe just draw in a flight geography? Because
I was going to come to that, Julie.
Oh, okay, sorry, apologies, sorry.
Sorry, I'll just come to that. So on this page, obviously you have technical means used, operations manual information. And so where you see this button, Start SORA Assessment, that's the point where the assessment, the algorithms will kick in and you start automating the calculation. So if we go back to the start. Right, so the first thing we need is an operational volume in this case. So I'm just going to load a file that I created earlier. And I've lost the window.
Just while AJ is finding that, you can see there that it has the ground risk buffer created here. So if you click on created here, it brings you back into that ground risk buffer contingency volume tab, or you can draw it yourself using the tools on the right-hand side. You can draw your flight geography here. And then once you've drawn your flight geography, it will automatically add in your contingency volume and your ground risk buffer. So you have choices here as to whether you want to draw it yourself in this map or whether you want to upload. And if you upload the KML here, as you can see, it automatically depicts it on the map with the contingency volume and the ground risk buffer built in.
Thank you, Julie. So yeah, so that was a KML I was trying to find, and I found it. It's now in terms of the airspace layers. So we want to make sure that we know what the population density is around the area. If there is any airspaces that we need to worry about. So I'll load those on. The color scheme essentially tells me what the population densities are in this area. And this is kind of data that we've taken from the recommendation that the CA has made in their CAP. Obviously, you can have your own data. And so from an ANDRA perspective and what we're doing with SORAMate, as we get better quality data, we'll upload it into the system and you'd have the latest data available. So if I zoom out, okay, let me just turn the population off a second. So in terms of the airspace restrictions, we are here. We can see there are a number of restriction zones around, and there are some Class C and D airspaces, but we are quite far away from those, so we don't have to worry about those at the moment. And then when we turn the population density on, we can see that in general, the population density is quite low. You can see the numbers there, but there are areas just adjacent to the volume itself where the density gets a little bit higher. Right, so we then get back to the planned operation. Obviously, the volume has been populated, so we have the KML file there. We've decided that we want to fly a BVLOS mission. We can go in and select when we want to fly. So for the time being, I'll just assume it's a flight in a week's time. We want to fly at noon, and we'll fly for about an hour, for example.
Just on this, you can set that for a year if you want to. It doesn't have to be a specific time and a specific date. It can be a range of dates and times. So you can set a start time tomorrow and and set the finish time in a year's time for a particular location if you had repetitive flights at the same location.
Or yeah, and that's a good point, because the tools Yeah, thank you, Julie. The tools are there for you to set that. All right. Purpose of the operation, obviously, we have the location, we need to give it some input. We typically go with 100 meters in this case, or you can decide you want to fly in feet, you can do that, that's quite easy. In this case, this is the AGL, so the max AGL will probably set at 120 in this case. And then we've got the speeds. We won't worry about that at the moment. We've got the geography here for the application and details that we need to load. We need to take a screenshot and add it in. I'm going to do one more thing before I go back up. In this case, I had selected a drone, Matrice 300. Obviously, there's a whole list of drones that are pre-populated together with their characteristics in the software. So you can choose your favorite drone that you wish to fly. In this case, it's a Matrice 300. And so, where did it go?
I don't think it's selected, actually.
Did not select. No. No. It did. Yeah, there it is. Sorry. I think they'll minimize the window there.
Just to point out there, you can add more than one drone. So you can add up to 5 drones here. And what the software will automatically detect is the max critical area of the largest drone, and it will apply those metrics to it. So if you are flying multiple drones, possibly smaller drones, but it will take the highest risk. So it'll take the max critical area of the largest drone that you've selected from the drop-down menu. So you can add up to 5 drones here.
Thank you. Obviously, if you have a drone that is custom and you can't see it in the list, you can create your own custom drone and add the specifications, data that you need to. When you go back up here, obviously, there is a description of the type of operation you need to do. And what you will find throughout the software is these little black circles with an eye in them. That tells you about what information you need to add in these sections. So if you're unsure about what you need to do, have a look at those information boxes, and it'll guide you as to what the software requires. Now, we also have another function within the software where you'll see the C template data. So in this case, this is about the operation type that you want to do and what you're going to be doing with the drone. So you click on it and gives you guidance of the type of information that you need to fill in. So in this case, we'll just select, you could just populate the whole thing and say, use this. So that fills all of it. You can modify it and change it as you wish. Or in general cases, most people will have their own text of the type of operation, and you can go ahead and fill that in. Right. So do the same thing here. That populates. Obviously, that's just gives you guidance on the kind of information you need. And when we get to the bottom, we've basically given it enough information for us to now start a SORA assessment.
Just before you go on to that, just if you can just stay at that bottom tab there, just the bottom button there, where you had start your SORA. Yeah. So there you'll see there they have beside just above the start SORA assessment button, there's operations manual information. It's voluntary at this point in time whether you want to submit all of the information regarding your operations manual. We take this information if you then ask us to help you prepare an operations manual as an add-on service. We take the information that you populate here and we then add that in and formulate your operations manual for you into a regulatory compliant document that you can submit then to the UK CAA. So along with your SORA. So this information at the moment is voluntary. You can go through your SORA risk assessment, you can complete your SORA, and then you can come back in and then fill in this information afterwards, or you can deal directly with us and give us the information. But it just gives you a structured approach to how to add in your information that will ultimately be included in your operations manual. Sure. Okay. Thanks, Adrian.
Thank you. All right. So I think we can go ahead now and get to the next page. So start SORA assessment. Oh, image is required. What happened there? Did not add the image. Sorry. always happens with technology.
Mm-hmm.
Let me select another drone, see what happens. There you go. Sorry. Yeah, so when you selected the drone, it fills in the description of the drone and you get the drone type there as an image. Right.
Perfect.
Bearing in mind when you start, when you get to the end of the page and you move to the next page, all of the information that you added in has been saved automatically. You don't have to press any buttons. All right, so now this is around the ground risk class, and this is the GRC calculation.
Sorry, yeah.
Sorry, I was just going to say, you will see that a lot of the information has been pre-populated in this. And I'm going to hand over to Julie to talk about this bit.
Sure. So just in this, you can see that the characteristic dimensions are selected based on the aircraft that you've selected. When we talk about here about the UAS operation being performed over assemblies of people, it's important that you're not going to be operating over assemblies of people. So this is automatically default setting to no. If you do want to operate over assemblies of people, you're going to end up at a much higher sail level. If you're performing it over a controlled ground area, then you can say yes here, which is going to bring down your IGRC significantly. And if you're performing it, then over the population density, your population density is automatically. So these are default positions. So it automatically says you're not going to fly over assemblies of people, that you're not going to fly in a controlled ground area, and that this is your population density based on the flight geography contingency volume ground risk buffer that you have selected, and that is depicted on the left-hand side. This is giving you your average population density, or the highest population density of the grid that you're there. So this is giving you an IGRC at the moment now of 5, based on the population densities that you have. Perfect, thanks AJ, you can go on down now. What we have then is we can then select our mitigation. So we have an IGRC, we're probably looking at a sail 2 operation, so we want to get our final GRC probably down to a 3. So we're looking at a -2 for our mitigations. We've got 3 options for our mitigations, and we can select any of these as we go along. We've got our M1A, M1B, M1C, and then we've got our M2 mitigations. What we can do is when we look, we can decide, when we select a mitigation, at the moment you can see M1A here is none. When we select an M1, we can either select low, medium, or high level of robustness. When we apply that, then it will give us the integrity and assurance level, and we can either use the pre-populated text, or we can use your own text based on what your assumptions are with regards to sheltering. It could be you're flying at night in a particular area, so therefore everybody's going to be indoors, they're all going to be tucked up in bed. So when we talk through these, we're talking M1A is sheltering, so we're looking at people spend very little time actually outdoors. So we're looking at that, but it does depend on the speed and the size of your aircraft that you're operating. Sheltering, otherwise, if you're operating larger UAS, you may have to make sure that your sheltering assumptions are validated. M1B, we're looking at operational restrictions, so we're looking at how are we going about reducing the number of people who are at risk on the ground, independent of sheltering. We can't apply both of these together. And then M1C, we're looking at ground observation. So are you at an elevated altitude? Can you see where we're flying, where you're operating? Can you see the population densities and identify and avoid uninvolved people on the ground, and make sure that you can maneuver the unmanned aircraft away from those? So we can apply our M1, our M1A, B, and C mitigations. And then our M2 mitigations is reducing the kinetic energy on impact. So what we can talk about when we're using our M2 mitigations, we may have to meet certain criteria based on the validation of whether or not they meet the means of compliance in order, and what testing has been carried out, and validating that M2 mitigation. Which is, it could be a parachute and along with the flight termination system. It could be looking at the frangibility of the aircraft. So you have multiple ways of demonstrating the M2 mitigations. But what we're looking at here is, as I said, and you can fill in as we have all of the different criteria. You can see here, so for an M2, we've got 3 criteria, the technical design, so on, and all of the information here with regards to each of the criteria, integrity and assurance levels, are set out here so that you can then work through them and provide the evidence for each of them as to how you go about meeting these. I think that's all really on the criteria. As long as you can see here now, we've applied our M1A, B, C, and M2 mitigations, and we have our final risk now, ground risk now at 3. We haven't put in, there is sample text in there to assist you when you're filling all of these in as well. That's
Thank
it
you,
for this
Julie.
page at the moment. If you want to go on.
Right. So having done the ground risk, you obviously go over to the air risk. Again, you will see that there is some data that has been pre-filled. Um, when I previously showed you the map, and if I'll zoom out, turn on the airspace layer on. CNDR on.
And
You can
great to
see
hear
that
this.
there's an airspace at the top. We're in the vicinity of the airspace, so there has been a selection being made. Obviously, from an operational perspective, we need to decide what kind of environment the drone is going to be flying in. And so this is where, you know, the mapping layers helps. Obviously, not the same as going out in the field and having a look. But in general, as you can see, we, in this instance and the example we've used, we are pretty much out in the countryside, very few people walking around or actually, or houses in the area. And so we can, depending on the kind of operation, you have to make a decision on what kind of airspace this might be.
So you can see it's automatically populated here that it's an operation in class E or G airspace. So it's actually selected the airspace class for you. It's given an initial air risk of an initial arc, should I say, of C. And what we can do then is we can apply the mitigations. If we want to scroll down, we can apply the different mitigations to this in order to reduce our final air risk. So it gives you the difference. So it's you can either provide the strategic mitigations, which are based around operational restrictions. So your boundary, what locations you're going to fly in, chronology, what time of the day, looking at encounter rates when you're going to be operating, or the time of exposure. And then you can also put in using the common rules and structures for your final jersey. Sorry, AJ.
Don't know what happened there.
Okay.
Go back.
Thanks. And there's some pre-populated selections here that you can make, and then you can put in the evidence down below. So you can, you know, it might be through an outreach to local flying clubs. It could be low-flying military aircraft. It could be a pre-agreement. You can upload agreements as well further on in our evidences as well. And then we can reduce. Now, the tool will automatically reduce these for you, but also if you want to put in an argument to say, no, actually, that has actually reduced the mitigations that I put in, we've reduced it by an additional level. So you can go down and you can pre-populate there what you feel your final air risk classification is going to be. And then you can demonstrate here all the information about what the outreach was, what the communication was. And as I say, you can upload the different information. We might move on a little bit. Thanks, AJ.
Yeah, I will. And so ultimately it's down to the operator still to make a decision on any residual air risk class. So you just go in and select a value.
Select B, yeah. B, yeah.
Yeah. And there's a tab here for any stakeholder engagement that you have done and any data that you need to share with the CAA. All right. Go on, Julie.
Sure. So that what's going to happen next is your sail level is calculated by the SORAMate platform. So we ended up with a final GRC of 3, residual arc of B. So we're in a sail 2 operation. So you can carry on to the next. Based on your sail 2 operation, you now get a summary of the requirements. And we can just go through this just very quickly, AJ, because I don't want to labor on this. I want to go on to the second phase and just make sure that have all the information.
This is essentially a summary of the assessment that you've done with all of the data that you've put in and the calculations that the system has done. Quite importantly, one of the things that you will notice is a download PDF has shown up here. And if you were to click on this, you will essentially get a PDF of the assessment itself that you can open and have a look. And you go down into the table of contents. This is all the information that has been pre-populated, and you can see and review that information. Now, obviously, when you save the assessment, all of the information, including the PDF data, is on the system. But next time you need to go in and generate a PDF, you'll just have to go to the summary stage and download one again. You also have the ability to re-download the KML that you've loaded into the system. Okay, so go to the bottom and save phase 1. So at this stage, what happens is, and this is in alignment with UK CA, the UK SORA. So this is an example we created today. We can save that, and you go back to the dashboard, and under drafts, you don't see anything because we didn't actually save a draft. We went ahead and went to phase one. So under phase one, you will see the example SORA that we created, the summary data for that, and when it was created. Obviously, you've got the ability to view and change it. Now, under this one, now you can see that there's an extra tab open, start phase two, and that will enable you to now to do the more detailed calculation.
We can go into start phase two.
Right.
Thanks. So once we get into start phase two, then we're looking at our operational safety objectives. It will automatically pre-populate what the OZOs are, which OZOs are applicable to you, and what level of robustness you're required for each of them. There's a necessary integrity and necessary assurance levels, and then you can meet those or go higher if you wish. You can't go lower though, or you shouldn't go lower, I should say. So therefore, the required integrity and assurance levels will be dictated at the top. This is just an example of OZO 1 that's there, so ensure the operator is competent and or proven. It will list the integrity and the assurance level as per the UK CAA regulations, and it will then give you an opportunity to either pre-populate with some template data there in order to assist you in what you should be saying about yourself in order to meet the requirements. And also you can add in your own information here, you know, or add to the template data that's there. The template data is there to assist you. It's not there as the verbatim what you should be saying. It's just there to assist you as an operator in the kind of information you should be populating within the operational safety objectives. Once we've gone through the operational safety objectives, it will tell you which are applicable to you, which are not applicable to you. It'll give you the information. And as I say, and then it has for integrity and assurance, it gives you the drop-down menus and the drop-down boxes for you to add in your own evidence there. Just let you know the questions should be just the question tab will be opening now in the next minute or so. So you can start, if you do have questions, you can start dropping your questions in. With regards to the OZOs, the OZOs obviously are based on your sale determination. So if you get to the point of at the end of phase one where you're at a sale 3 operation, then and you want to be at a sale 2 operation because you know you can only provide the evidence for a sale 2 operation, well, then you need to go back and start reviewing your mitigations that you've applied based on your ground risk or your air risk. You need to be at a ground risk of 3 or an air risk of B or less. This is, as I say, there is a lot of templated data in here. The templated data is meant to serve as a guideline. It's not meant to be because, you know, the templated data could be for any range of operations, whereas what you add in here is specific to your own operation. It's just giving you examples. If you edit that, I think we can go on to the next stage. I don't know if we'll be able to do the TMPRs now with the next without having fulfilled.
I think this is around the containment requirements. I think we've got 15 minutes remaining.
So the containment requirements are automatically set based on the drone that you've selected and based on the adjacent area. And you'll see as we scroll down through this that it automatically uses the tables and it dictates then what your containment requirements are based on the drone you're using, your speed and your operational area.
I think we should go back to the flow chart so we can just walk them through the process itself.
I was just going to go on just to the very final, just to just scroll down and so you can see you can add in your integrity assurance for the different 4 levels in the containment, and then once we've completed that, then we have our TMPRs. So with our TMPRs again will be based on our sale levels, and we can fill in all the information on our TMPRs here. For low, it might be a VLOS flight, whatever it may be. Thanks, AJ. You can go on to the next one.
This is around all the compliance evidence that folks need to load onto the system.
Yeah, and so for the compliance evidence here, you can actually add in, so you can add in your your ops manual, you can add in your technical data for your UAS, you can add in flight logs, you can add in, you can upload certificates, and so you can upload any of your compliance evidence, so it's all stored in one place and in one location. Sure, you can go on to the next one.
And you get the final summary for the full assessment.
Perfect. Okay,
and obviously you can make a download of the content of all the assessment and any data that you've loaded on.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to swap screens. Can you see the PowerPoint, Julie?
Yeah, sure. Perfect. So, so I'm sure many of you who are online are already very familiar with this process. This is the UKCAA process where it's divided into 2 stages, and we've replicated this in the SORAMate based on JARS SORA 2.5. So, and we've adjusted it actually now today with the latest amendments from that were issued under the latest decision, where the containment evidence is now at step 10 and the OZO compliance is now at step 11. So just very briefly to talk through the steps, first is looking at the detailed operational information. Next, we're moving on to the ground risk. As we talked through, it's your intrinsic ground risk. Look into your mitigations up to your final ground risk. Step 4, then determination of your initial air risk. You're applying your strategic mitigations, determining your sail level, and that's your phase 1 assessment. And at that point in time, you download your PDF. You'll be transferring this information across the Disco platform. We don't have an API yet. We would certainly hope that in the future that there will be an API that will be able to directly link this information and we'll have a direct crossover and feed, but that possibly is some time away. So at the moment, you can develop your SORA within the SORAMate platform, and then you can copy it over into the Disco platform to upload your information. You then make your payment to the UKCAA, and you have your phase 1 assessment where you confirm your sail level. Following that, then you go through your phase 2, which is your containment for step 10, your step 11 OZO compliance, and uploading all of your compliance, looking at then your tactical mitigation performance requirements as well. And then you submit all of that evidence, including the evidence that you've uploaded, things like your flight logs and so on. And then you look at your second payment to the CAA, and then hopefully you get a big green stamp to go fly. And you get success. I'm conscious of time, and there's quite a few questions coming in. So AJ, if you're happy, I'll start going through some of the questions.
Yeah, let's do that.
10 minutes left. Okay. Mike, hi Mike. I see your question there is, SORAs for multiple sites have been confirmed as possible with the UKCAA. How does SORAMate deal with this? It will be in the next release. We don't have a capacity within SORAMate right now to do multiple sites, but we will manually assist you through Avtrain. If you come to us with multiple sites, we're actually doing one right now at the moment, which has multiple sites. With the operator we're working with at the moment has 4 separate sites. So what we can do is we can do the SORAs online, and we then look at we actually manually amalgamate those SORA risk assessments for you, so that you will be able to, in the same way as I believe that that's the same on the Disco platform at the moment, that digitally you can't have multiple locations, but manually you can. So we assist you manually with that at the moment, but we will have a capability in the future. At the moment, as I say, you can select multiple drones, you just can't select multiple sites, but you could select a generic site, and you could select one site that you have your population density, and we can then facilitate that through your ops manuals procedures as well, that you will also validate and confirm your population density at any further location that you go to. So hopefully that answers your question.
And I think the ability to do some of the calculations in an automated way will allow you to look at multiple sites quite easily in the software.
Yeah. Adrian, I have your question up next. Hi Adrian, ages since I've seen you. Is there any preliminary explanation for the operator about the mission, if this could be under SORA or not at all, or STS or PDRA? No, it isn't at the moment, but the idea is that when you sign up for the subscription for SORAMate, you're signing up to have a 30-minute consultation with ourselves at Avtrain, and we obviously are very aware of can you operate under standard scenario, more so from an EASA perspective, for sure, for under an STS or under a PDRA or under a SORA. And we will be launching this, by the way, in EASA once we have SORA 2.5, which hopefully will be September, October. So yes, that consultation would very much be, no, actually, you can do this under a PDRA, or if you have a C5 drone, you can do it under an STS. So yes, we would do that. We would deal with that through the consultation process, the 30 minutes consultation that you get with the subscription, and maybe guide you away. You may not need a SORA. You may be able to do it under an STS and make a declaratory approach under an STS or a PDRA. From a UK CAA point of view, again, you may be able to just go in and use PDRA 01 rather than a SORA, but operators are also expected to a certain degree to carry out their own research as well as to what the best method is. And I think most people, by the time they get to realizing that they have to do a SORA risk assessment because of the possible complexities that can be involved, if they can go down the PDRA route, they will. And if not, then they're down at the SORA. So yes, I think the 30-minute consultation would definitely weed out anybody who may be inadvertently going down the SORA route and actually can do a PDRA, and we can assist them as Avtrain even in the development of their PDRA. So hopefully that answers that question. If we don't have an exact location, sorry, AJ, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just going to read the question to you.
Sure. So Mark had there, if we don't have an exact location for the sale ops, how does this software handle example sites for the CAA? Well, as I said, you can draw in your KML, in your GRB and CV tab in the initial part of your SORAMate. What you can do is you can draw multiple KML files, so you can identify and you can look at the population densities within each of those. You can upload them into the SORA if you want to, so that you can look at what your actual population density is. But they all have the grids there, so you can draw your KML files and you can so you can draw your KML files and you can put your population density layer within it. So even if you don't have an exact location, you can put a wider, broader location, but make sure that you're not infringing on any really significant population density areas that may prohibit your operation, push you up into a higher sale level. So we can do sample sites. You can pick your sample sites. For example, you can say, I'm going to stick with a population density of X, and then you can draw your sample sites on the KML file and submit those as your sample sites and upload those into your SORA. So you can do sample sites, but you just need to make sure that the population densities for your max population density for the sale level that you want to reach, that when you're drawing those flight geographies for your sample sites, that you avoid the higher population density boxes. The population data source that's used is at the moment, it's the census data. It's the approved data from the UK.
Yeah. We've got a question from Craig. As there's no reduction table for ARC as there is for GRC, what criteria is SORAMate using to determine which blend of SMs are needed to reduce ARC to ARC-C to ARC-B?
Yeah, so when you apply the mitigations, it will actually bring down your initial versus your residual. So it will actually reduce by one your ARC if you've applied appropriate mitigations. But the problem with air risk is that it is a lot more subjective than it can be. So you can put in atypical, for example, and you can say, right, I'm operating in atypical, and that will automatically bring you back down, bring your ARC, your final ARC down. So you can select, if you select atypical, it does have an automated functionality. But because there are so many other variables, there's only certain of the variables that will actually reduce the ARC. The rest of them are evidence dependent, because it could be that there's a local airfield, you could have no stakeholder engagement with that local airfield, but so you wouldn't have an ARC reduction, but yet you could have a very detailed, in-depth MOU with that airfield where you've categorized your operations, and therefore from an evidence point of view, you're able to present that evidence to the CAA. And that's why we've allowed for an automatic ARC reduction, but also for you as an operator to reduce the ARC, because you know from the evidence that you're presenting, based on the evidence that you're presenting to the CAA, that you are going to get that ARC reduction. And that's based, as I say, within it is based on the evidentiary requirements that you have and what you have available to you. So you can, there is an automatic ARC reduction based on the mitigations, based on the initial and residual mitigations that you're applying. And as you saw, then we have divided them up as well into initial and residual. So there is a reduction in the ARC we maybe didn't demonstrate it during that demo, but we can go through a demo with you where you see the reductions that are there, but you can also yourself as an operator manually reduce the arc as well.
Perhaps one more question from Mark. We do not have exact locations for our sale ops. So how does this software handle example sites for the CAA?
I did actually go through that one.
Yeah, I've been through that.
We said you can draw them you can draw as many KML files as you want, and if you want to use sample sites, then you pick where an area location where the population density meets what your planned population density is going to be based on the mitigations that you're able to provide.
There's another question about experience with CAA using SORAMate, or just generally for SORA applications, Julie, that you may have made. How successful and how fast is their reaction and feedback?
Yeah, so I think huge congratulations to the UK CAA. I saw that there was a SORA for BV loss operations issued this week, which I think is the first SORA 2.5. So considering that April the 23rd was the first day of acceptance and there's one being issued now, that is within 2 months. So that's pretty good going, I think, for a complex BV loss SORA, and I think that was actually for highly automated operations. For a drone in a box. So yeah, it's dramatically improved the turnaround time. From a UK CAA point of view, also the digitization of the PDRA process has reduced turnaround times. I think any of the operators who are online here who've applied for a PDRA will also certainly agree with that the turnaround times now on PDRA applications are down to days rather than what was weeks and months before. So the whole idea of digitizing these processes is standardization of documentation that the CAA is receiving, and that in itself is, has a dramatic improvement from an inspector's point of view within the CAA. If they're seeing the same thing over and over again, and they only have to look at those minor changes when they're looking from one application to another, it's really going to improve the turnaround times. Also, the UK CAA, you've got highly experienced personnel within the departments, and also then you've got the resources there for the turnaround on this, and they put a lot of time and effort into their own digitization project as well. So they're fully willing to work with operators and to have that direct access and direct link back to them as well through the digital platforms. So yeah, I think we'll be looking towards the UK CAA as an example, particularly within EASA, when we have SORA 2.5 and we have the digital platforms as well.
Thank you, Julie. I think we're on time, on the hour. I don't see any more questions. So thank you to all for joining this webinar. Hopefully you found it useful. Please go to the page soramate.co, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Really appreciate the time tonight. Please reach out to us, any questions, comments, and if you sign up for the platform and you've any feedback either on the webinar tonight or feedback generally, we're really, really willing and accepting of any feedback. We want to be able to integrate with operators. We want to talk to operators about what their needs are. Make sure to follow us on LinkedIn, and as AJ said, go on to soramate.co and you can sign up there. So thanks everybody for this evening for your time, and it was a pleasure talking to you all.
Thank you all.